Hey everybody, welcome to the PixelBlips Podcast for November 3rd, 2013. I'm Andy Ryan, my firmware's up to date. Joining me as always is the man who needs no patches, Dave DeWart. Dave, what are you playing this week?
So I've continued my Pokemon quest, right? I went over to my sister's house and I gave her the copy of Red I was playing.
Let me show you them.
Yes. And then it turns out she had my copy of Silver, so I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Silver.
I almost bought a copy of Gold.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was at vintage stock.
Get your hoo-hoo?
I was like,
or whatever that is.
Gold.
No, it's, you know, it's more Pokemon. It's just there's another 101 or something like that in Silver and Gold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been playing it, having fun with it. Taking it to work.
Taking it to work, right. When I was my wife and I were out to breakfast yesterday, and a little girl at the next table was playing the new one,
X and Y.
XXY. And she was like, "Oh, Bulbasaur," and like,
yeah.
Because she's like a little, 6-year-old kid, and you're like, It's nice to see that's now
still
cross-generational.
Well, yeah, and it kind of really was when the first one came out. We were in like the end of middle school, like freshman in high school.
Yeah.
So, and it was still pegged as a little kid's game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm just
It's Pokemon.
Relearning all that, and then you've got all the new monsters, and you're like, well, crap, now I got to learn another set of 100 and something monsters. So that's been fun. But I've also been playing Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It is
Henry Rollins?
No.
Oh, well,
Sad
never mind.
face. It is an Assassin's Creed game, and it is a lot of the boat stuff. The boat stuff in 3 was alright, but it isn't what
Never thought I'd be on a boat.
Yeah. It's a lot of, driving around in the Caribbean, jacking boats. There's like the little sandbar islands you can like hop off your ship and then go explore and then hop back on and go back to doing what you're doing. It's essentially pirates versus Assassins versus Templars with pirates in the middle, and it's a lot of fun. My favorite part of it isn't even like a gameplay thing. It's just the shanties you collect, like that your sailors will sing while you're driving around in the middle of the ocean, and it's like they're like bar songs, and it's awesome. It's awesome. It's just they're like the almanac pages in 3. You start to chase one, and it runs away from you, and you have to catch it. The almanac pages, you would get like 5 at a time. You'd take them to Ben Franklin. He would be like, "Oh, well, here's a reward" or something. So, and it's really cool. Like I kind of like what they've done as far as the real world stuff, like how the real world ties into this Assassin's Creed. It's kind of neat, and I don't want to spoil anything. It comes out real early, like you figure it out, but. It's kind of cool that they was like, okay, well now you can explore this whole area, and it's like more or less optional. You don't have to do a whole lot of the real world stuff. So
the stuff that actually interests me about that Assassin's Creed series, you don't have to do.
I'll explain it to you while we're on lunch, so I don't ruin anything for anybody. But it's pretty neat. I like it so far. It definitely.
Have you played any of the Aveline missions?
No, I don't even know if those are out yet. Like, I don't know if those are like released or what. I haven't put the code in. But I got enough of her when I was playing on the Vita.
She's still I've played Altair.
You played the original Assassin's Creed, and you've played Liberation.
And I played Bloodlines, and I played Liberation.
So, Altair,
And
Aveline.
Aveline, yeah.
The Ezio ones are a lot more fun, I think. I think Assassin's Creed 2 is still the best Assassin's Creed, but this is now like the number 2 slot. They really refined a lot of the mechanics they were trying to push in 3. The boat stuff is better than it was in 3.
Yeah.
Because it kind of has to be, because that's what you're going to spend the majority of your time doing.
I imagine Assassin's Creed's going to end up being like Devil May Cry for me, where I played Devil May Cry 1, Devil May Cry 2, but didn't beat either of them, and then in the end of the PS2 life cycle, I bought the box
pack
set,
that had all of them.
That all of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess
that's
that
how I'm getting Mass Effect too.
In a year or so, there'll probably be an Assassin's Creed Chronicle. I think there's already one that's out that has like 1-2 Liberation, 1-2 Bloodline, the Ezio story.
Okay.
I think there's already one like that out, but there's going to be a big box for your PS3 and your 360. It's like, here's all the Assassin's Creed games, because this is one of those games that started.
How I'm probably going to.
Yeah. It started at the beginning of this generation, and like 4 is probably a good send-off for the next gen games.
Yeah.
But it's very clear that they developed this game for the Xbox One and the PS4, and then they crammed it into the PS3 and the 360 because there's There are, frame dips because there's a lot of crap going on. And I imagine there's probably frame dips on the PS4, it's just not as noticeable.
Yeah, the scuttlebutt between people who know is if you have the choice of all platforms, the PS4 is the one to go for.
Yeah, and if I buy a PS4 before the promotion runs up, when you buy, a PS4 3 version of a game, you can pay $10 to get the digital version. For Assassin's Creed, that runs out at the end of January. So if you don't have it purchased by then, you are kind of hosed.
So I have to buy it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have to buy, if you have to actually buy it through your system, or if you can just pay the $10 on the PS3 and then have it waiting for you. But either way, I mean, it's a fun game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. The companion app is really neat. You use it kind of like, it's a map as well as you can like go through all the documents and stuff that you find.
Oh, that's cool.
You can do like the little side mission thing where you send your fleet off to go do trading and pirating elsewhere.
Like in Liberation.
Yeah, it's like that, but you can do it anytime you want as long as you got an internet connection. Cool. So it's a lot of fun. Like I'm having fun with it. Edward's not that great of a thing, but there's a lot of weird stuff with it that I didn't notice in Liberation, but is probably there. So what have you been up to this week?
I've been playing a ton of Corpse Party. This week was Halloween, and I wanted to be spooked and scared, so I finally beat Corpse Party, the main game. And I went back and did a bunch of the extra missions.
The side questy stuff.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Corpse Party is a RPG Maker visual novel mix about Japanese school children stuck in a haunted school. And it's the type of game where you can make a decision and then 20 minutes later you get the bad ending because that decision you made 20 minutes ago was
the junction point to that bad ending.
Even though you've been playing normally for 20 minutes, or at one point I ran to a spot where I had been playing for 45 minutes.
And you got the bad ending and had to go back to that spot.
Yeah, and had to kind of rewind a bit and figure out what I had done differently.
Where the fork was.
Yeah. So I went back to one of the forks, and the other path on that fork still got me the bad ending. So I went back again, and then went back again.
Even further. It's like a flowchart from hell.
Yes. But now I'm playing Corpse Party, The Book of Shadows, which is very, very interesting. And I really like it, and it's how it's set up makes it a lot more palatable to me than Corpse Party. And if you didn't have to have played the original Corpse Party to truly appreciate Book of Shadows,
what's going on,
I would say just go to Book of Shadows.
But you have to play Corpse Party in order to get what's going on.
Basically, in Book of Shadows, you are revisiting events from the game, from Corpse Party, and you kind of have to look at them from a different viewpoint, and it's very interesting and very cool, and it's a straight visual novel.
So there's very little actual player interaction.
There is. I mean, for visual novels, there is usually a lot of player interaction of choices.
Yeah, but it's not like there's a lot of action where you're running around in hallways and stuff.
You're not really guiding an avatar on a map so much as you are going to certain points and saying, I'm in this classroom, and you get a static image.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like, what is that? Virtue's Last Reward and 9999 or whatever. Like those are kind of like virtual novels.
Yeah, even in that you have to solve puzzles. And in this one you don't even have to solve puzzles.
You just kind of keep playing through it, and
you have to kind of make choices as you go that relate to certain things.
Okay. It seems. And that is that a Vita game or is it a PSP game?
PSP and Vita.
So but it initially came out on the PSP, and you can also play it on your Vita. Okay, so PSP owners can play this game.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We also had the buy two get one free sale at Vintage Stock, and I picked up Castle Shikigami 2 for the PS2, which is a vertical scrolling bullet hell shooter that's very interesting because you can power up your weapon temporarily by floating next to a bullet. So if you just
you sit there and just follow it back?
So you kind of have to figure out how to dodge as close as possible without getting hit.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's good for a bullet hell game, right?
Yeah, very, very cool. I really liked it. I also got Cold Fear, which is a underappreciated gem on the PlayStation 2. The lightest thing is a survival horror set on a boat with Resident Evil 4-esque controls. Very good.
Okay.
Published by Ubisoft, and I think developed by the same people that developed Alone in the Dark, the new Nightmare. But don't quote me on that. I also got Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo, which is a side-scrolling beat-em-up. Awesome side-scrolling beat-em-up by Konami.
Was it multiplayer? Could player 2 play Robin?
I don't think it's multiplayer at all. Well, Batman Returns didn't have Robin in it.
Oh, that's true. That's right. I'm thinking of Batman Forever.
Or Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
I also got Gradius 3, which I haven't gotten to work yet, but that's probably more my fault than the cartridges. and I got Shadows of the Empire, which I got sucked into trying to win that first battle from Battle of Hoth on that Nintendo 64 controller.
Oh yeah,
very weird, very hard.
Yeah, the N64 version of that, no.
So we're here today talking about Sony's PlayStation FAQ, and I want to start by going even further back than the FAQ and talking about their day one firmware update, which enables a lot of really weird things on the console.
That you would think would already be enabled.
Yes. Blu-ray playback, DVD playback, CD playback.
Well, you can't play audio CDs on the PS4.
Yeah.
At all.
There's not a CD player on that yet.
Because then you could be able to play PS1 games.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
They could write a CD player program that would not be able to play CD games. But that's the birth of... I don't know if we've gone over it, but the birth of backwards compatibility was the CD player system software for the PS2 also was able to play PS1 games. So that's where backwards compatibility came from. But
for that system.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that the firmware update, it's only 300 megabytes, so it's basically a, hey, this is the latest version of all of these software programs.
Yeah. Or this is this version that we're going to load on initially. Like,
yes.
This is the first version of the Blu-ray player and the whatever.
Whereas they probably put all this stuff into manufacturing and said, hey, don't even worry about
it's not ready yet. Hold on.
Yeah, don't even worry about putting the firmware on it. We'll build all that software into the back end and into a day one patch.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like day one patches, period.
No, not even for games, nothing. Like, and that bothers the crap out of me. You buy a disc and it's like, oh, there's this thing. Well, okay, I guess. If I want to use all the crap I can do.
So I'm like, I don't like them because what if you find a PS4 in 2050 in the back of a warehouse?
That had never been opened.
Yeah, how do you get it to work now?
There are options where you can download the stuff on a thumb drive and put it on there.
Yeah, and they've said you can actually send off for a CD version,
or a Blu-ray version. It's a Blu-ray.
It's a Blu-ray, okay.
It's a Blu-ray.
Okay. You can send to Sony and get the Blu-ray of the day one update.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because it's only 300 megabytes and a Blu-ray, single layer Blu-ray
is like 25 gigs. Well, you know what? Whatever.
Talk about a waste of space.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. So I didn't like that. That was bummer news to me. And then this FAQ comes along, and basically the FAQ lays out everything that the PS4 will be able to do when you download this patch
after the patch
and hit go.
Yeah.
And people are up in arms, and I agree with them, and I agree with them being up in arms. It doesn't necessarily affect me because I don't use my PS4 as a media player.
Not a lot, no.
No, I don't at all. I have Google Fiber, so that little fiber box is the best thing ever.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, if you wanted to be able to listen to music through your thing, you would have to subscribe to their Music Unlimited channel, right?
Well,
like, that's something that bothers me. Like, it doesn't play MP3s, it doesn't play audio CDs.
Yep.
So all this music that you've downloaded through Amazon or other places, you can no longer use on your computer. You can't, or on your PS4 rather. And that's kind of a big deal if you like to have custom soundtracks for games.
And I'm willing to bet my bottom dollar on the fact that the reason the DLNA playback isn't enabled, the MP3 playback isn't enabled, the audio CD playback isn't enabled, is because they just haven't figured out a way to get that background music running correctly up to their standards.
Or they really want you to pay $50 a year to use Music Unlimited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not I mean, if there would be other ways to do it outside of that.
I mean, you can.
That wouldn't make people throw up their arms and get pitchforks.
I don't know how the PS4 architecture is set up, right? But MP3 players are basically on every sort of device, right? Like, you could put MP3 players on your phone from 2000, or MP3s on your phone from 2001, and it would probably play them. So I don't understand how this 8-core monstrosity with 8 gigs of DDR5 or whatever can't play MP3s in the background while playing a game.
Well, I'm pretty sure that with
I mean, some of it probably has to be, we have to pay for the license to be able to use MP3s on every console or something like that. Like, there's licensing fees that come with different codecs.
Okay. I think part of the problem originates from they probably had a list of things that they were like, this has
to be in launch mode. Yeah,
this has to be on the day one patch. And someone at Sony said, the music playback thing has to be on the day one patch. Music Unlimited has to be on the day one patch.
Yeah.
Because people pay for that.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Like if it's already somebody who pays for that.
As a person that pays for Music Unlimited,
me,
if it did everything else, and the music playback, it had MP3 and CD and DLNA server,
but it didn't do the
but it didn't do Music Unlimited, I would be
upset,
pissed.
Yeah, well, and rightfully so, because you're paying for a service.
Yes.
And if you can't use that service the way that they want you think you should be able to use it, and the way it was advertised you could use it. That's a reasonable, objection to it, right? Like if it doesn't work, and they said, "Hey, you're going to be able to use this and this together," and it doesn't work, then you're going to be pissed.
Yes,
I get that.
So some manager at Sony said, "We have 60 people to put towards the firmware update to make sure this music plays in the background.
Yeah.
I want all 60 of them working on Music Unlimited."
Yeah, I mean,
because people pay for that,
yeah.
unlike the MP3, unlike the DLNA.
Yeah. And the whole audio.
Also, keep in mind, PS3 didn't do DLNA
at launch
either.
Like, but I don't remember
I had
them.
A PS3. I had to wait.
I don't remember them making. I don't remember a lot of the PS3 launch very well. Anyway, but I don't remember them saying you'll be able to stream stuff from your PS3 before launch. I think that was an added-on thing that they bolted on later.
Yeah.
Like
but they did
Netflix and all this other stuff that they bolted on later.
It was going to be a media center. It was going to be a media center.
Yeah, because it came with a hard drive. You could put your music on it. You could put your movies on it.
But also, you can't do background custom soundtracks now on the PS3.
No, but that's a hardware limitation of the system.
Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be any hardware limitation on this new system.
Yeah.
Because back then, when the PS3 and the 360 launched, those weren't things that people were really clamoring for. Like you could do that on the PC, but you've always been able to do stuff like that on the PC. Consoles never had that issue. Now it is kind of a thing that people want to be able to do, and if you can't do it at launch with your own music without paying extra, I could see why people would be upset about that, especially if the other guy does it. I don't know if the Xbox One allows you to do it or not.
That people are allowed to be upset, and it is good that they're upset because Sony has taken note of it.
Yeah.
They're probably, whoever's in charge of those 60 people working on the MP3 playback is now saying, you guys go full bore, we'll pay overtime.
Go do this, make this happen by February or whenever.
Get us that patch.
And
that's the thing, once again, that's what I don't like about Day 1 patches, is that look where the PS3 started in terms of interface and firmware and PlayStation Store and all this other stuff. Now look where it's ended up.
Yeah.
Like, that's totally different.
And mostly better for the most part.
Yes.
It is better. Like the store is still really slow and crappy, and I don't like the new store. I like the blue store better. But
I like how the new store is easier to search shit.
It is. I got used to the blue store, and I don't really like the way it works. And if you're on Wi-Fi, it is slower, it seems. So yeah. So there's that. There's also like little things like you can't turn the light off on the PS4 controller. You can't turn that light off at all. Developers can turn it way down, but you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those weird little.
Why does that irk you?
It doesn't irk me. I'm saying it's one of those things that I've heard people bitch about. It's like, I don't really care. I don't sit in a very dark room with a shiny TV and I see a little blue light. Like right now you still see a little red light off your PS4 controller.
You can't turn the light off on the PS4 controller.
But I mean, it's easier to put a piece of tape over that LED than it is to put a piece of tape over that weird triangle thing.
But I don't understand why you would be irked by that. I mean, people are allowed to be irked, and by all means.
It's the internet.
I know.
The internet's going to be mad about all kinds of crazy shit.
That's how you are identified on the system. Like, it's not going to be player 1, 2, and 3 anymore. It's going to be player blue, purple, and green.
Yeah, and green is player 3, blue is 1, red is 2, whatever. And that makes sense. And developers have the ability to dim that as far down as possible for whatever their purposes are. And I've heard things like,
it's not even looking at you. Like, you don't even see it. It would have to be.
You might see a little bit of the top. I think the part is like the reflection off of your shiny TV, and you'll see it when you're playing dark games, and it makes it harder to see things. And I don't know. I understand.
It would be distracting if you were playing like Resident Evil and you're walking down a dark hallway
and you see a blue light,
the reflection of the little green light.
Yeah.
I can understand.
But you would get that now with the Move controllers.
Yeah. So.
But that might help you aim better. I don't know. There's stuff like that, and then there was something else. Oh, one thing that does kind of bother me is the not being able to use external hard drives. Now, I mean, that makes sense since you're not able to import your own audio, to use your own MP3s and possibly even like MPEGs and AVI. Obviously, you probably won't be able to use AVIs, but your own movies on the PS4 at launch either. You use an external hard drive on yours, and you used to use an external hard drive on your PS3 to save games and backups and things like that. Yes.
Yeah, only to back stuff up.
Yeah.
Never.
You can't
even. Never like.
You can't play games off of it. I understand.
No,
that.
and it was never like play MP3s off of it or anything. It was literally I would bring it out, set it down, hit the backup thing, and walk away.
You can't even do that at this point.
Yeah, I know.
And that kind of sucks too, right? Because
it does.
Maybe you have a dead on arrival PS4, or your PS4 goes bad in like 3 months. Maybe we'll have a red ring of death situation with these new systems. I hope they don't, but they might. And so, if you really want to, if you're one of those people that's like, I don't want to lose my games, I don't want to have to re-download all this stuff, and you want to back it up, you can't do that yet.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks. Like,
but you also can't do that on, things like, well, I guess you could back up an iPod.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the way that Apple stuff works, because I don't use Apple stuff, is every time you sync it, it basically backs it up. Like you have a copy of it on your desktop, you have a copy of it on your little device. Yeah. So, that's okay because it's basically auto syncing, and that'd be nice if you could do that with your PS4. But they have said so far that you cannot do that.
Well, I think that's another one of those things. If someone at Sony said we have 60 people to handle
we only have X number of people. This
thing.
Other stuff needs to get done first.
Yeah, so they're gonna have cloud saves, so we'll have to. That will be in a patch later.
Yeah, well, the cloud saves are fine. That's great for your saves, but I don't really want to download a 25 gig game again.
Buy it on disc.
Well, obviously. But I mean, unless it's one of those, you got those games for free from PlayStation Plus, but then you'll just have to re-download it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's...
And that's the other thing, people talking about backing up games on a PS3. I had a PS3 break.
A couple of times.
And a lot of people don't understand that when you back up that stuff, all it backs up really is your save files. Everything else is tagged to the other PS3's serial number, and since it doesn't recognize it says, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and only certain games it'll actually do it. Because when I swapped the hard drives in my PS3, I had to re-download like 3 or 4 of the big games that I had. Yeah. Which kept me from re-downloading them because it takes
that's the other thing. You can still swap the hard drives in your PS3.
Yeah, you can totally do that. If you really want to put in a 2 terabyte drive into your PS4 , go ahead.
Yeah.
They're cool with it, provided it meets whatever specifications.
That's just a standard laptop drive.
Yeah. I would prefer them to have put a faster hard drive, like spitting hard drive in there, but whatever, it's fine. And if you really want to drop the money on a 250 gig SSD, you can put it in there.
Isn't there already? Oh yeah, solid state drive. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a 5200 RPM 500 gig drive. Yeah. Is what they come with. So, and that's cool.
I mean, I think a lot of this fact stuff was Sony ripping off the Band-Aid because the system launches in 2 weeks and some stuff is not going to make
the some of the stuff that they promised isn't going to work exactly the way that we thought it would. And now they're just clarifying, hey, you can't put your own music on here and listen to it yet. You can't,
Everything is caveated with the yet.
Yeah. I mean, the audio CD thing doesn't really bother me because really, who buys CDs? And if you buy CDs, well, if I bought a CD, I would just go ahead and straight rip it so I could put it on my MP3 player, right?
Yeah.
And really, if you put a CD into your PS4, it only has one disc slot, so you can't play your disc-based games and listen to music off the disc at the same time. So that's whatever. The CD thing doesn't bother me. The MP3 bothers me.
I mean, I think this is a lot like the FAQ that Microsoft released before E3.
Yeah.
That said, like, hey, this is how it's going to work. This is how sharing's going to work. And Sony's the Band-Aid, if the backlash from this ripping off a Band-Aid is a lot less than the backlash from the last ripping off the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
But the backlash is still there, so Sony's now knowing, like, hey, it'll be in a patch. Like,
most of
forward, you will be able to do this. It's not going to make
most of these features that they're excluding right now will be in a patch later.
The only thing that I think people are legitimately upset about that Sony's probably not going to do is they're probably going to say no external hard drives. They'll probably say, like, flash drives up to a certain amount, like, anything else you need to put a bigger hard drive in the box.
That sucks.
Like, mostly just because you're not, the USB transfer is not going to be enough for you to run a game off that.
Well, no, you won't be able, I mean, it's USB 3, right? Like, USB 3 is pretty fast and pretty nice. But it's, I mean, when you're thinking you're trying to transfer a Blu-ray's worth of data pretty quickly, it's not that great. That. Like, it's not serial ATA, which is probably what that hard drive is. Probably even ATA 2 or 3. So
that's the thing Sony's saying, like, the FAQ people should be legitimately mad about. You should be the backlash because that backlash is going to help Sony figure out where they need to manage the groups, what needs to happen.
Where their hardware engineers need to go next.
For the next patch, and the patch after that, and the patch after that. But people telling me that this was Sony's biggest problem ever, and people are canceling.
It's not like
no one canceled their pre-order over just this fact.
No, I mean, I would say people would be more likely to cancel their pre-order because Watch Dogs got delayed, or Drive Club got pushed back. I mean, I know there was some bad rap with Target or whatever. Some retailer saying
Target canceled because since Watch Dog wasn't going to come out and Drive Club wasn't going to come out, they canceled all those pre-orders.
But now they're trying to make good on it or something with, hey, your pre-order's live again or active again, something. But yeah, I mean, those would be the bigger reasons. It's like, oh, the game I want's not coming out. Well, then I guess I'll just wait until it comes out.
Yeah. Like, I think Sony is still pretty safe and secure in hitting that 5 million consoles sold by the end of March.
Yeah, and you know, you're going to be one for sure, and I probably will be one before March. So.
Like I still foresee the PS4 outselling the Xbox One by a large margin.
At least initially, at some point they'll even out again. Like,
I doubt it.
Eventually, you know how Xbox guys are. They will get their buddies to buy it.
That's fine.
I mean, whatever.
There's
anyway,
not a lot of them.
There's a lot of those guys.
But the pre-order numbers are slanted in...
The pre-order numbers are slanted in Sony's favor.
By a large margin.
But people who can't get a PS4 because there's no demand, the demand is so high and the supply is so low, there will be people who will shell out the extra $100 so that little Timmy can have an Xbox One on Christmas.
Sure.
And why that's whatever. That's their call. That's not mine. Regardless of what games are coming out and where your loyalties lie, that's... I don't think that's a good call. But yeah, it's this FAQ just gets people riled up, and it's like, oh, bad news.
And bad news always attracts bad news.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a huge problem. I mean,
I think I am more upset about the day one patch than the stuff I learned in the fact.
Yeah, day one patches always bother me, but now we live in a
world with day one patches.
Yeah, most games are gonna have day one patches and whatever. Hopefully, with the way the PS4 is supposed to work, those patches will be done without you knowing.
Yeah,
that would be great.
They're like, that is making it for launch.
While you're installing the game onto your thing, like you put the disc in and it's installing it, it's going to download the patch for it too.
Yeah, they've already said that, like, you start your PS3 up, you throw Killzone in it, you can play. You don't have to wait for the patch to download.
4. You said 3. PS3.
Oh.
Come on,
I know. We're doing that for the next 2 years.
We're going to be doing that for a while, yeah, because you're going to keep your PS3 and I'm going to keep mine.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to leave mine in the living room or if I'm going to put it in my office yet. So.
I'm leaving mine in the living room because the Google Fiber
box is like right there.
So tiny.
Yeah. So you just have all 3 of them just right there under your TV.
Well, the Google Fiber box will probably be up underneath the TV, and then I'll have both the PS4 and 3 on a shelf. I have to get a wireless
adapter
bridge. I mean, not wireless. I have to get a wire bridge so I can put 1 in and then 2 out because I'm going to wire up.
Oh, just get a Switch. Put it in that living room area. You don't need
Yeah, but what if I want to run both of them at once?
Why? You only have 1 TV.
The wife wants Netflix, and I want to remote play on my Vita.
Wireless. Oh, yeah, just get a Switch. A Switch is fine. That's what you're talking about anyway.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, neither here nor there. So the FAQ got people riled up, and like I said, bad news. And I'm sure a lot of the riling was people that are in the other camp going, yay, now they have something.
Now there's some bad stuff about the PS4, but it's still not the backpedaling and the 180s that they're pulling on, the always on and all that. So.
Like I think the biggest thing out of the fact that people brought to me was they're like, oh, remote play is not going to work. They said you could play it on the bus. Like, well, yes, you still can play it on the bus. You just need a Wi-Fi access on that bus.
Yeah, and they're saying like
you can still log into it through the internet. Like it works.
It doesn't work as well as it would if you were using the same connection at home.
Yeah, I think Sony's being overly cautious, and like that E3 demo we showed you, to do that, you need this.
You need to be within like 45 feet of the router or with a clear shot or whatever.
So
I mean, and that makes sense.
I totally expected remote play to work like remote play works now.
In my experience, remote play doesn't work because I have no games that I can remote play.
Well, remote play access to the PS3.
Yeah, where you can log into it. And
I'm not talking about like
go to
playing the
store and all
game.
that.
I'm talking like remote play. The infrastructure of it works like it does now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, we'll be back here next week. Don't forget to spay and neuter your Pokemon, Dave, as you're playing.
Oh well, you know what? I don't.
Silver.
I don't breed my
playing
Pokemon.
Silver?
I'm playing Silver. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't bred any of my Pokemon. Like I don't see a point.
Pokemon was pretty hard up.
They are.
We'll see you next week.